Hello and welcome to today's episode of Filling the Gap, your one-stop shop for Pacers Gap Year coverage. I am your host, Andrew Schreiner, and today we are breaking down the Pacers season opening 141-135 double overtime loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I've kind of a split mind about the game. Obviously, it's disappointing to lose the game. It would have been a great win to start the season with. The fans were so into it. And it was a hard fought battle. It would have been a great one to kind of steal a game that people really aren't expecting you to win to start the season. But there was also a lot to like in the Pacers' performance. So let's get into it. Quick game summary here. They led 25-22 after quarter one. They played some really solid defense in the first quarter. But then they lost a little bit. They trailed 54-47 at halftime. They managed to close the gap to 81-78 after three. They won the third quarter. They even took a lead for a little while before the Thunder made a run at the end of the quarter. So they're down three heading into the fourth, and they won the fourth quarter by exactly 3 points. Pascal Siakam made a clutch basket to tie the game at 113 with about 6 seconds to go. Shea missed a well-defended three on the other end, and the game went to overtime. The Pacers had a strong start. In the first overtime, they possessed the ball for about a minute and a half of the first 2 minutes. They had several offensive rebounds. But the score ended up tied at 124 after the first overtime. Mathurin made a big shot to tie the game up. And then on the other end, Shea missed another game-winning shot. And that sent us to a second overtime where the Thunder finally took a lead and won the game 141-135. So a few kind of just game notes, things to point out about the game. Nembhard did not return after halftime with what was reported as a sore left shoulder during the game. So Ben Sheppard started the half at point guard and the overtimes as well. Now, that made me hopeful when they announced that during the game or put it up on the screen. Okay, maybe, it's just thing that's just tonight. But Rick was asked about the injury after the game, and he said, quote, "We'll find out more tomorrow. He's going to get some tests done, but this is going to potentially present some big challenges," end quote. So I do not like the sound of that. We'll have to wait and see what they find. But if Nembhard is going to miss some time, that is going to strain what is already a highly strained point guard position for the Pacers. We'll go into more detail on that in a little while. Another note about the game, there were 70 fouls called and 91 free throws attempted. Now, I don't really love complaining about officiating. It's something out of your control as a team. Teams shouldn't complain about it too much. There were 51 free throws for Oklahoma City, 40 for Indy. It was actually pretty even throughout the game until the end. Oklahoma City had a few at the end as they were ahead in the overtime, and the Pacers were trying to extend the game. But it just made the game feel long and choppy. This was a long game. It was prime time, so the TV timeouts were longer. There weren't too many calls I strongly disagreed with. There were a few I think that officials might have missed, but maybe I'm a fan and maybe I missed them as well. But it did impact the game significantly, just the sheer number of fouls called, because Nesmith fouled out in the fourth. Mathurin and Sheppard both fouled out in overtime, and that really became the difference because the Pacers ran out of bodies to defend Shea and also A.J. Mitchell, who was very good, sort of being Robin to Shea's Batman, as Jalen Williams was out, and Chet Holmgren had what was a pretty off night by his standards. So now let's just go through a few standout performances. First, on the other side, SGA was great. He had 55 points. It is worth noting he only made 15 field goals. He was 23 of 26 at the free throw line. I think every Pacers fan is tired of watching SGA shoot free throws by this point. But he was great. He does a lot to draw fouls and get to the line. He's a great player, not to take that away from him. Benedict Mathurin, now for the Pacers, what you really want to hear about. Benedict Mathurin had 36 points and 11 rebounds. He was 15 of 17 from the free throw line himself. He was huge for the team until he fouled out. It was a great sign, a great indication of what's to come for him this season, that he's going to be aggressive, he's going to be looking to score, and that he can be the Pacers' leading scorer on a night in, night out basis. Pascal Siakam, the Pacers' other kind of main option offensively, primary option offensively, had 32 points and 15 rebounds. He had a great night, except from the free throw line. He was 5 of 12 from the free throw line, and he and Benedict both missed some big free throws late that could have prevented the game from even going to OT. And so I think if you're going to look back at anything from tonight that was at least within your control, and say, if we would have done that, we would have won. It would have been some free throw shooting late. Tony Bradley also missed one while he was out there in the fourth quarter. Every point counted in a game like that. And Pascal's 7 missed free throws, several of which were in the fourth quarter, did not help anything, obviously. So other things of note, things I was watching for during the game, is what was the point guard spot going to look like? Who's going to be the backup? And Talen Peter was the first sub for the Pacers. He came in along with Obi Toppin about 4 minutes into the game. He didn't really stand out, which is a good thing. I think that's a compliment to him. He did look, he moved the ball along pretty quickly when he was bringing it up. They pressured him a few times and got the Pacers into some bad situations. But really, he didn't make any major blunders. He knocked it down a 3, a steal. He did get taken advantage of a few times defensively by SGA and Lou Dort, but that is a tough assignment for anyone, especially Talen Peter is not a big guy, and they had a pretty distinct size advantage, and they kind of just bullied him to the rim a few times. As I mentioned, Ben Sheppard started the second half and played almost all of the overtimes until he fouled out in the second overtime. And so if Nembhard is going to miss time, I think I would expect to see Ben Sheppard as the starting point guard, which is not something I think anyone would have expected even just 2 weeks ago or so. Then the center position. That was the other one people were curious about. How is this 4-man rotation plus Obi, the center by committee thing they're doing to replace Miles Turner this season, going to look? Isaiah Jackson started. He looked bad, not just neutral like maybe Talen Peter was, sort of just out there. But Isaiah Jackson looked bad. He had 0 points, 1 rebound, and 4 fouls in 8 minutes and 29 seconds. Jay Huff looked okay. He had 5 points. He made a 3. He had 3 rebounds. He had a block, and he played almost 12 minutes. And then Tony Bradley got some action rather than James Wiseman. He matches up well with Hartenstein. I think we saw that in the finals, and Rick obviously remembered that. And so Tony Bradley got 9 minutes, 55 seconds of play time in the matchup. He had 2 points, no rebounds, and a block. Stat lines, nothing too noteworthy, but I think he played solidly. He did his job while he was out there. So if we're doing the math on the minutes, that does not add up to 48 or then 58 with the 10 minutes of overtime. Obi played the remaining 18-ish minutes at center during regulation, and then he played all of the overtimes. So we saw about 28 minutes of center Obi, which I think is a good sign. He looked good. He is better than the 4 centers they have on the roster. And so if you can get him out there at the 5 and not get taken advantage of defensively, then that is a good thing. So those are all my takeaways from last night's game, or at least the big ones. And the Pacers have to move on. They have to move on quickly because they're heading out on a tough 3-game road trip. They open it up with a back-to-back in Memphis on Saturday at 8 o'clock. That's their next game. They then head to Minnesota for a matchup with the Timberwolves on Sunday, and then they'll finish up the road trip with a matchup against the Dallas Mavericks. So Memphis at 8 o'clock on Saturday, they began their season with a win against the New Orleans Pelicans, in which they were led by Ja Morant's 35-point outing. And so the Pacers need to get ready to handle another superstar point guard in the NBA, this time possibly without Nembhard. We'll see. So thank you for watching today's episode. I'll be back after Saturday's game, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. And this time, let me know what you were most encouraged about from the Pacers opener in the comments below. Let's try and keep some positive vibes as we go into this new season. See you next time.